Okay, amazing. Hello and welcome to the webinar How to Drop Weight Without Being on a Diet. I'm just giving few moments to everyone who's joining live to join us live, and we'll be starting very, very shortly. And for everyone who's watching the recording, welcome to the recording as well. For the next 45 to 55 minutes, we will be talking about what we can do to get ourselves out of yo-yo dieting and how we can start making actual changes to our relationship with food. So the way today's webinar will be happening is I do have some slides which I will be sharing with you. At the end, we will have some time for Q&A. Because this is the Zoom session. You can also ask questions if you have any questions in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask question if you want to. So without any further ado, we will start now. If anyone joins in the meantime, then I will just let them in. So yes, so here we go. I hope that you can see the screen. And in the meantime, welcome, Mina. Great to have you on the live session. At some point, if you wanted to share why you are here, that would be fantastic. What brings you here? But there is absolutely no pressure. So yes. Okay. So what we are going to talk about is how to drop weight without being on a diet. You might have noticed that normally people would use the term how to lose weight without being on a diet. And in a few minutes, I will explain why I don't use the term losing weight all the time, because as you might have heard somewhere on my social media or see somewhere in my content, um, I work a lot on the mindset, our conscious and subconscious mind, and I will explain to you why using the term losing weight is not that great when it comes to our subconscious mind, so we don't sabotage ourselves. So yes, so when it comes to today's webinar, we will be talking about why typical weight loss diets don't work in the long term, why up to 85% of people who go on to restrictive diets, they experience yo-yo effect. We will be talking about most effective weight loss methods, and I'm going to spoil this for you now. If you might be thinking that I will be giving you the best methods for actual diets, the best meal plans, etc., etc. This is not something what we will be focusing on here, because I do believe that the best eating style, to use that word to replace diet, the best eating style is the one which you can follow for a really long time, is the one which you like, and is the one which you enjoy, because that's one of the biggest reasons why typical weight loss diets don't actually work in the long term, because we just don't like them, even if we in the beginning are very enthusiastic about that. We don't like them that much. And then we will also mention what to do to lose weight without the yo-yo effect, because the reality is that when it comes to the yo-yo effect, if you have done a lot of different diets in the past and you've managed to drop some weight, but then that weight came back, then it's almost the matter of changing the question and changing the mindset around this, because the main goal here is not to lose some weight, but to actually keep it off. And we will also talk a little bit about the difference between the goal and the result. But so that's also from my perspective, asking yourself a question if this webinar is for you. And I wanted to answer that in the beginning of the webinar, so you can know. This webinar is for you if you've tried many different diets, but you keep getting exactly the same results. So you keep bouncing between particular sizes, dress sizes, or maybe between particular weights as well. You don't know how to get out of the yo-yo effect. It's definitely for you because we will look at slightly different approach. If you don't believe that dropping weight can be a side effect of just changing your habits, that's definitely a webinar for you as well. If you want to start making serious changes in your relationship with food, and also if you want to learn more about the mindset and how it affects your eating choices. It's really interactive, so if you have any questions in the meantime, please just do. We won't be going through a lot of different slides on this presentation, simply because I really want us to focus on, okay, what can we learn about our mindset from everything what is happening here? And just before we start, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about who I am. So my name is Anna Strożek. I'm a psychonutritionist and I'm a positive psychology coach as well. When it comes to my lived experience, for 25 years, I struggled with binge eating disorder, with secret eating and with non-purging bulimia as well. And body dysmorphia was something what has been with me for most of the time as well. I started when I was around 9 years old. This is when my emotional and secret eating started, and it finished when I was 34. I started addressing it when I was 34. Let me just quickly look at the charts. Just invited my friend. Oh, amazing, Mina! Thank you, and I joined as well. So yeah, so this is great. Thank you. And welcome, Ayan. If you have any questions in the meantime, I said before, please just type the questions here, or you can just unmute yourself. I would love to hear from you, ladies, why you are actually here. So in a minute, I would love to hear from you if you feel comfortable to say why you are here. And just to finish off, when it comes to my learned experience, I am a certified psychonutritionist. Since the beginning of this year, I'm the positive psychology coach as well. When it comes to change of the mindset, it really helps those to go together. Psychonutrition is a bridge between psychology and nutrition, because the reality is that psychology deals with mind, nutrition deals with body, and the fact is that we can't do just one thing. We can't just focus on our body. We really need to address our mind as well. And then a psychonutrition is a bridge between psychology and nutrition, so the bridge between the body and the mind. And I've been working with clients for over 2 years. I've got almost 90 people who already finished my group coaching programs. And I've been working with over 500 people in different projects, which I've been running with different psychonutritionists too. So before we carry on, I just wanted to ask ladies if you could share a little bit more about why you are here. So if you feel like, please just unmute yourself and tell me why you are here. I do recognize the names. So yeah, so it's all amazing. And then if you can't share, then it's absolutely fine. Hopefully you can have some questions later on. So when it comes to let me just change the view. Okay. I will just change the view. So if you want to say something or ask something, you can just raise your digital hands, or you can just unmute yourself. When it comes to answering those questions, focusing on those topics about what we are talking about today here. So the reason why typical diets, weight loss diets, don't work in the long term is the connection between restrictions and binging. The way our mind works is, and our brain as well, actually, is the fact that our brain is the hedonist, which means that it doesn't want to use too much energy, too much additional energy. So if there are any restrictions, if there is anything happening like that, our nervous system gets into the survival mode, which means that it's constantly focusing on what to do to survive. And this is very natural thing when it comes to restrictive diets and limitations. The moment we say to ourselves that we can't eat something, this is what the mind starts focusing on. When it comes to the reasons why, I can give you the most beautiful and the most common actually example of how our mind works in terms of saying the word no or don't. Our mind, conscious and subconscious. So conscious mind is the thinking one. Subconscious mind is the feeling one. So this is why we get triggered sometimes before because something happens and our subconscious mind stores all the emotions and then we just get triggered. Our conscious and our subconscious mind, they don't understand the concepts of no. So to give you a great example, when I say to you, don't think about pink elephant, the first thing you think about is pink elephant, which means that our brain, our mind operates in images. It doesn't operate in words. So it means that in order to imagine that you can't do something, you don't want to do something, it needs to imagine that particular thing first. So that's also the reason why when it comes to weight loss diets, if we are stuck in the mindset of I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I shouldn't be eating this, I shouldn't be eating that, the result of all of this is the fact that we are constantly bombarding our mind with the picture of that particular thing. And it's very, very interesting because quite often when we do a lot of restrictions and when we do a lot of limitations, we would say to ourselves, okay, I've got enough motivation, I've got enough willpower, I'm strong enough, I can go with that. But we keep forgetting that normally when we go onto any type of diets, the world all of a sudden doesn't stop. It's not like everything is perfect, nothing triggers us, we sleep perfectly well, we wake up every single day with a smile on our face and tons of energy. There are no problems, nothing is happening around us, nothing challenging is happening around us. For some reason, our mind really thinks that when we get on that diet, this is how the world and the circumstances will be looking. Now, the reality is that life carries on. Daily challenges, problems, different things just happen. And then when we go to work, let's say, and all day we have a lot of stressful meeting, it might be really challenging day in terms of a lot of our energy, physical and mental energy is used. And then after a day like that, still remembering about the fact that we keep saying to ourselves, I can't eat chocolate, I can't eat chocolate, I can't eat chocolate. No wonder that at the end of that day, the only thing we can think about is actually chocolate, because we've been thinking about that chocolate all the time with the intention that we don't want to have it. So this is one of the reasons why restrictions and limitations don't work. The other reason of what is happening here when it comes to the vicious circle of dieting is the fact that when we have the restrictions, we sooner or later feel deprived and we feel that we are losing the control. And what happens in situations like that, and this is very, very powerful part, and it's really important to remember that one of the first reasons why we are starting dieting is normally the sense of lack of control, which means that we might be not feeling very secure within our body. Normally, the vicious circle starts with some kind of body dissatisfaction. It might be the situation quite often. All dieting journeys start where we are teenagers, and what it means is the fact that quite often we experience those in those periods of time, we experience that maybe situation at home is not great, or maybe we've got some challenges at school. Maybe you have some challenges. This is the time when we start falling in love, etc., etc. And life can be really, really hard from the perspective of teenager. And it seems like I can't control anything. So the only thing which I seem to have control over might be food, or might be might be the way I look. And you can see for some of you, I hope that that resonates, that you might feel that in those moments of your life when you feel like you don't have control over something what is not happening in your private life or something what is not happening at work, your mind goes into, okay, let me just make some changes with my body. Let me just make some changes with food, because then I will feel a little bit safer. The reality is that quite often this is when our nervous system is already in a fight or flight response, which means that it's overstressed. And when we are in a situation when we are stressed, and of course feeling deprived and feeling that we don't have the control over food, that means that there is more and more stress in our body. So our body is in more of fight or flight response. What it means? It means that our body is not able to digest. And this is caused by a few different things, but one of the great visual examples here is that when we are in fight or flight, this is coming from the human design perspective, from our biological perspective. This is coming from the times when there was actual danger, when there was a tiger, a lion, or something literally trying to chase us, and we needed to escape. We needed to run. The biological response is that when we feel stress, when the cortisol, the stress hormone, is activated in our body, is released in our body, it pushes blood from our body to our arms and to our legs, because we need to run away. We need to make sure that there is a lot of energy to run, to hide, to survive. So what happens in those moments? That blood goes away from our digestive system and we are not able to digest. So if we mix the situation, today's lion it might be a boss, it might be a colleague, it might be someone we are working with, it might be our partner, our kids, anyone in our life, the person who will be um, putting us, or we will be putting ourselves in the situations when we are really stressed, when we are in those particular moments. And what will be happening quite often in those moments, we will be thinking, okay, I need to make sure that I'm on a diet. And then you can see that when we are stressed all the time, we can't digest. So even if we eat just a little bit of something, a little bit of food, that food cannot be digested. It needs to be stored in our body. So then it's just stored as a fat tissue. And what happens quite often, because we get the results on the restrictive diets, we get the fast results in the beginning and then it stops. We get more upset about all of this. And what starts happening, we start overeating and we start getting cravings, because we are limiting ourselves. At the same time, we really feel that we want to feel some kind of relief. So then what is happening in that vicious circle is the shame and guilt. Shame and guilt comes because it might be on those days when we think to ourselves, okay, I'm just going to have one cookie or one chocolate. I've been so good for the whole week. I've been so good for the last 3 weeks. I do deserve to have something extra. Or, one cookie won't change anything, or one chocolate won't change anything. And then the moment we have this, we just feel that, okay, maybe I have a little bit more, or we straight away feel shame and we feel guilt. And then what our nervous system is telling us to do when we feel shame and guilt, we want to feel release. We don't want to feel those challenging emotions, even if they are never the things which are telling us what to do. We need to remember that emotions are a little bit of just signals. Emotions are letting us know that something is happening in our body. It's great to almost what we can say. We don't have positive and negative emotions, because this is the label which has been, or actually two labels which have been used for a really, really long time. And then when we say that something is positive and something is negative, when we experience something negative, we feel challenged. We feel that we are having some kind of problems. And what I love to do, how I love to replace those words, is actually feeling the the challenging emotions and feeling the encouraging emotions. So let's say that joy or happiness will be the encouraging emotion. When it comes to shame, guilt, or anger or sadness, those emotions will be the challenging ones. And it's great to look at them as the almost like a signal with the level of fuel we've got in a car. When we are feeling joy, when we are feeling happiness, when we are feeling fulfillment, and then it's almost like the tank is full. When we are feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger, those kind of emotions, then it's almost the indicator that, okay, our energy levels might be low, especially if we feel a lot of those emotions and they are overwhelming, because then it means that our body is trying to basically give us a message. Because when it comes to binge eating and when it comes to emotional eating, what we need to remember as well is the fact that those are not problems. Those are just indications of the fact that something might be missing inside. And quite often, the thing which is missing is the attention. Because when it comes here, going back to the cycle, when we feel that shame and guilt, we would normally not stop and just ask ourselves, okay, so what is happening? Why did I start the diet in the first place? Is it only because of the body dissatisfaction, or am I actually trying to cover something? Am I trying to avoid something? Am I trying to focus on dieting because then I think that's when I'm a particular weight, then life will be amazing, and I will be really happy when I lose weight. Um, Instead of asking those questions, we would normally just give up dieting and we will start eating a lot of different food, because it does give us food when we eat, especially the sweet food or the food which is the combination between fatty taste and sweet taste. Those are the foods which are coded in our brain as something what gives us the feeling of relief. And the reason why it's happening, it quite often goes to back to our childhood. And when we were newborns, we were getting milk pretty much for everything. That the getting milk from our moms or getting milk from the bottle was the answer to everything. Was the answer to when we were hungry, when we were thirsty, when we were sad, when we were happy, when every single situation was sorted by that. And then when you look at it from the perspective, okay, what kind of taste is that milk? Is sweet and is fatty. So then no wonder that every time when we feel sad or every time when we feel lonely or every time when we feel challenged, we just go to those fatty sweet foods. It might be cake, it might be ice cream, it might be something what will be really, really rich. And of course, at the same time, the companies who produce those kind of foods, they absolutely know about that because like the amount of time and the amount of effort which is put into finding that sweet spot which hits all possible senses, this is something what is really, really powerful, because then we feel almost like we don't have control over that, because it's a very natural reaction as well when it comes to biological reaction to what happens when we eat a lot of sugar. It's not even about the fact that we are getting the actual relief. The reality is that when our brain is flooded with a lot of dopamine, then the happy hormone, then what happens is basically for a moment, because there is so much dopamine coming, so much of this hormone coming, the receptors are getting disconnected for a moment. So it's not like we don't feel those emotions as strongly as we felt them before. Our receptors are not getting those signals. So what we mistake it for is, okay, yeah, better. I've just eaten now, so now is better. And then straight away the shame and guilt come. So the reality is that the best way to stop that vicious circle of dieting and vicious circle of yo-yo effect is to stop restrictions and stop limitations. And this is something what is really, really powerful when it comes to my work with the clients, and when I do different type of workshops, webinars, and when I talk to people in general about emotional eating and binge eating, when we do some work, And at some point of me working individually or in a group environment with anyone, at some point, part of the process is to give yourself permission to eat those foods which you've been restricting yourself for most of your life. And of course, we do different processes when it comes to preparation, from the mindset perspective, from the mindfulness perspective as well. But quite often, clients say to me, "You are the first person who has given me permission to eat food which I've been avoiding my entire life." And the best thing about all of this is that we really think that the more we judge ourselves, the more restrictions we put, the more active our inner critic is, we believe that that will give us more motivation, more strong will, or it will just keep us going. The reality is that quite often those additional kilograms which we are holding on our body are the results of our body trying to get protection from our mind. Because I'm sure that we all can say that the reality is that we are our biggest judges. And very often we might be saying out loud or to the outside world that, okay, I am very compassionate. I do understand that I make mistakes and there are no mistakes, but there are only lessons. But the most powerful voice which we have is the inner voice, is the voice of our mind, voice of our ego, which quite often is just comparing, or full of comparison, to ourselves, and is just trying to be the best. And this is something what I love to share, is realizing that our ego, that concepts in our mind which is created to survive, loves to be the best, even if it means that it's going to be the best at being the worst. So even if it means that it will be convincing us that we are the ones who's got the harder circumstances, we are the ones who never achieve anything. We are the ones who are um, victim of everything what is happening outside. And I'm not saying that situations are not hard, because of course there are so many difficult situations which are happening to a lot of people. But the reality is that sometimes we get stuck in that loop of thinking that there is no other way. And what is really important in that part, and the reason why I'm saying this, is the fact that quite often those additional kilograms are literally almost like a heavy weighted jacket, which is made out of all those negative thoughts, all those different types of judgment. And sometimes when we finally release and we literally just give ourselves a break, that quite often is the moment when we actually start releasing and start understanding that, okay, so who's who's actually telling me that I can't eat particular things? Who is not allowing me to eat chocolate, or who is not allowing me to eat pizza, or is whatever it might be? Something what is really important is the fact that when we start labeling food, that food is good and bad, food is right and wrong, we start feeling exactly the same way. If you know that something is bad, or let's say that really bad in terms of maybe some kind of criminal thing, if you know that someone is doing some kind of crimes, you know that that person is not right. So if you were getting involved in this kind of activities, you would feel bad for that, of course, if you're aware of that. And it's exactly the same with food. The moment we eat something what is bad for us, we feel guilty for doing this. So it might sound really simple, and it's fascinating how simple sometimes those mindset shifts are, because when we realize that it is that easy sometimes, that we can just change one word, we can just reframe one word, and our mind start focusing on completely different things. This is something what also helps with restrictions, because the reality is that when someone is saying to themselves, or I shouldn't be eating that chocolate, or I shouldn't be eating that crisps, or I shouldn't be eating peanut butter, whatever it is, you can tell that I'm giving you examples of my go-to product. The fact is that I would just ask question: who's telling you that you can't have it? The reality is that the only conversation which you have is the conversation which you have in your head. And trust me that it's not that hard to change something what you have been using as a punishment for yourself, to start changing and then start using it as the nourishment. Because quite often we start using food to punish ourselves for, and quite often we punish our body for our mind's choices instead of just nourishing our body. And then when we nourish our body, we nourish our mind as well. I've been saying about chocolates, about pizza and things like that, not because there is anything wrong with those things. I'm just giving the examples of the foods which might be restrictive or limited in a lot of different options when it comes to dieting, simply because we just need to realize that food is just food. Not everything is worth our choice, but everything what is called food is just food. You can choose to have it. But then the question is, do you really want to have it? And the liberation which comes with this work here is just being aware of the fact that we do have a choice. We really do have a choice. And that choice quite often is really yours. When I start working with clients and they ask me, okay, so what should I be eating for breakfast, or what should I be eating for lunch? And I really, in the first conversations, I would ask them a question: what would you like to eat for breakfast? Or what would you like to eat for lunch? Because very often we are so used to the reality that everyone else knows better, everyone else is much more important. We do things for other people, but quite often we forget to do things for ourselves, and we just don't actually realize that our needs are the most important ones. Because this is the example of putting the oxygen mask in when you are on a plane in the emergency situation. It doesn't matter how great you are, and it doesn't matter how amazing things you do for other people. If you are not alive, you can't help anyone. And this is basically what happens when it comes to our energy, because we think that we can do incredible things for other people. We can really push our limits to do things for other people or for other things. But we completely forgot that we only have one body, we only have one health. And we don't forget about put the phone on charging when the battery is low, but quite often we run on very low battery. And then that's also the reason why we go or we are so attracted to restrictive diets, because they promise fast results. But also the reality is that no one never goes back to the stories of people after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. What happens with them on those incredible, very popular diets? Because quite often, after a few weeks or after a few months, people just fall off the wagon, and then they don't go to the producers of the diet saying, oh, it didn't work. No, quite often we will go to ourselves and we will say, oh, I failed. I didn't have enough willpower, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. And this is where the 100% or nothing approach is coming as well. Because then, okay, if I don't do something perfectly, there is no point in doing this at all. But it's really, really powerful. And actually, when I, after those 25 years of binge eating and secret eating, when I met my psychonutritionist in November 2019, we started working together. Of course, it took time for me to be really free from emotional eating and from binge eating. As a side effect of my journey, I dropped, it's almost 40 kilograms, so it's a little bit over 6 stone. And that was really a side effect. It started when I actually started nourishing myself, and I started eating more than ever before when it comes to those moments outside of binge eating episodes, because I finally started nourishing my body, and my body was no longer in the position of, I have to survive. I don't have enough, so I need to make sure that whatever energy I'm getting from that food will be used in the best possible way. And the reason why I'm saying this about the beginning of my own journey is the fact that it was actually last week, so it's almost 5 years later. We've done a podcast with my psychonutritionist. It is a podcast which is in Polish, so if you do speak Polish, then somewhere underneath this video there will be a link on YouTube or on my website. Because my psychonutritionist, she loves to give the examples of people not 2 months after we start work, not 3 months after we start work, but 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And now we had a conversation 5 years after we started working together. And it's incredible because we just need to accept that, okay, change is process. Change is something what takes time. But at the same time, we just need to ask ourselves, okay, so do I want to get fast results, but I might actually lose those results within the next few months? Or do I want to get steady results, which will be really helping me to heal my relationship with food, to build a healthy body-mind connection? And okay, maybe the speed with dropping weight will be slower, but I'm sure that that journey will continue for the next months. And then when I look at everything in the next few months, few years, I know that it will be very stable relationship with food, because the reality is that it is the mirror reflection of our relationship with ourselves. This is what relationship with food is. So I always keep saying that ask yourself how you behave when it comes to food. Do you always rush with food, or do you hide when you eat, or do you not pay attention to what you eat? And then whatever the answer or whatever the question is, you can ask exactly the same question when it comes to life. So where else do I run away? Or what else do I run away from in my life? Where else do I not pay attention to what I do? Is there anything I'm hiding from? And this is the question where which one of you can answer for yourself. And it's not like all of a sudden you will have the answers, because the power of working on our subconscious mind and working with our mindset is that something starts the process, and that process continues and continues and continues. And before we go to the next part, when it comes to beliefs, we've been talking a lot about beliefs. I just wanted to explain why I keep saying dropping weight, not losing weight. We need to remember that our body doesn't like loss, because loss means that we are deprived of something. And when it comes to nature, nature always goes to or aims to be at the balanced state. So every time when we lose something, we need to gain something as well. And quite often we really, really, really don't know how powerful our words are, and that our mind is always listening. And when we lose weight, sooner or later we gain that weight back. Because if we don't replace it with something different, if we don't replace it with gaining healthy habits, if we don't replace it with gaining much more energy, getting better health condition, maybe getting different nutrition, like there are so many different things we can gain when we lose that weight. That's when we only focus on losing weight, losing weight, losing weight. This is very often the only reason why body is in so much resistance to drop that weight or to lose that weight. You can tell that I'm really used to using that word. And also, what is really powerful part of the process is when we lose something, quite often we need to go through the process of grieving, because loss really always means that we need to grieve. And quite often when it comes to this journey, when it comes to dropping weight, very often we need to say goodbye to the version of ourselves we are with that higher weight. Because there are lots of different things which we don't want to see, or we are not able to see. But very often there is hidden benefit of us being at a particular weight, us being at a particular state. And on one hand, I'm talking about binge eating, and I'm referring to yo-yo dieting, and I'm referring to weight as well. But please remember that overeating and undereating are two different parts of the same scale. So two opposites of the same scale. Because the thing is that you might not be eating too much, or you might not be having any problems with your weight might be absolutely fine, but you might keep thinking about food all the time and you can't focus on anything different. So something what is the most powerful here, and everything what we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes, is focusing on beliefs. Beliefs are basically our thoughts. Beliefs are it's a bunch of thoughts we have about ourselves, we have about the others, we have about the world, the circumstances, everything. And mindset is a mix of beliefs and thoughts. And then you can see when I was talking about the mind that we've got conscious mind, which is thinking mind, and we've got subconscious mind, which is the feeling one. Subconscious one is where all the beliefs are stored. So quite often we are not aware of the fact that we have some beliefs. And this example here is really, really beautiful because this is the story of a boy and going to the circus with his father. And the boy couldn't understand why there was such a massive, beautiful and big elephant, and it had a very small chain attached to one of its feet, and it didn't want to move. It couldn't free himself up or itself up. And the child asked the father a question. It's like, how is it possible that this big elephant is just literally attached to that very small chain, and it's standing there, and it's so sad, and it doesn't want to go away. It's like, this is the most powerful animal in the world. Why is it here with such a small chain? And the father said, you know, it's all started when the elephant was really small. When it was really small, it got attached to that chain, and back then that chain was really heavy, and the little elephant couldn't do anything with that. Couldn't do anything. It tried and tried and tried and couldn't free himself up. And then he just stopped trying. And then he was growing. The chain was still the same size, and the elephant was growing, but he had that experience from the past that it doesn't matter how much elephant tries, he can't break the chain. And this is exactly what the beliefs are doing to us. Quite often, we tried something in our childhood, we tried something in the past, and what we do, we are afraid of trying new things because we only remember what happened in the past. And the power of our brain is the fact that it confuses something what is familiar with something what is safe. Because very often our mind really thinks that if it's familiar with something, then it means that it's okay, it's good. And in a lot of different languages, there are lots of different sayings, and you can say that as long as you know something, then it's okay. Even if it's something what keeps you challenged, even if it's something what keeps you suffering, even if it's something what gives you a lot of pain, you will stay in the familiar scenario because mind is afraid, absolutely scared of something what it doesn't know. And the beauty of life is that you never know what's going to happen. You never know what might be the next step because life is uncertain. But the mind, at the same time, the ego is afraid of everything what is uncertain. And that's also what happens when it comes to the process of change. That's the reason why it took me 25 years to find psychonutrition, or actually I wasn't ready before because I really thought that those diets which I was always using, and quite often I was just starving myself for really, really long time because I really believe that this is the only way to do it. It worked for me in the past, so it's going to work for me now. But the reality is that if something worked for me in the past and I gain weight again and I need to do it again, just this is indication of the fact that it's not working. Because if it worked, I wouldn't be have to doing this again to get exactly the same result. So what we need to manage to get out of the restrictions, I only put one point here because the reality is that thoughts and beliefs about what is familiar to you is the most important part. That's why when we start the process of change, it's really scary. The mind will be saying, no, it's not gonna work. No, there is no point in trying. Let me go back to something what I've tried in the past. Let me go back to something what I know. Because it will find all possible reasons to just get us out of something what is new. And the process of change is incredible when it comes to this a particular field of our relationship with food, because I guarantee you that the moment you start changing your habits, you start consciously replacing the bad habits with the good habits. And when I say bad and good, I say a little bit uh, with a smiley face, because they are the habits which can be productive. They are the habits which can give us benefits. They are the habits which can keep us in shape mentally and physically. And they are the habits which are not giving us any of this. Because again, saying bad habits and good habits, it's the impact of the habits, negative or positive impact. And something what I would love to say to finish off this part is we really need to be mindful of the fact that we can't just take something away and not replace it with anything. Because our mind, as we've been talking for the last 40 minutes, doesn't like deprivation, doesn't like restriction, doesn't like limitation. So if we want to replace a habit of binge eating or emotional eating, because it doesn't matter how triggering it might sound, it is a habit, which means the most incredible news and the best news is that because binge eating and emotional eating or being in a diet cycle is a habit, we can break that habit. This is the learned behavior, which means that we can unlearn it. And it's really, really powerful, because when we realize that we can only successfully change the habits if we replace it with another habit, then this is the best way to find a solution in this. Quite often we just stop doing things, we just stop eating something, or we just stop drinking a particular drink or whatever it is, and we don't replace it with the alternative. And the way our mind is constructed, if we just get rid of something, it will find another habit which will be as unbeneficial as the original one is. So if we know that we can work on that process, and if we know that we can start replacing the habits, the negative impact habits with the positive impact habits, then this is something what is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And I am a walking example of that it is possible. Really, if you asked me 5 years ago that if it was possible to get out of binge eating and emotional eating, I would tell you very, very convinced that this is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life, because I had no idea that there was another way, and definitely there is. So everything what I've been talking about, I hope that you found it useful, and that you learned a lot of different things from what we've been talking about here today. And if you enjoyed that, and if it brought you some new things, it's absolutely incredible. If you know that now you've got all the knowledge you want to try, you want to go ahead with, I am here definitely for you. And my website, my social media, etc. There is a lot of free content which you can use. And hopefully that will help you as well. On the other hand, if you have tried a lot of different options and you feel like, okay, I do have a lot of knowledge, I've read a lot of different books, I've done a lot of different coachings, a lot of different programs, I've tried to change my mindset, but none of this actually worked in the long term, I have something what might be a solution for you when it comes to group coaching program. And the group coaching program is called Feed Your Body, Not Your Mind. And this is the online group coaching program. This edition is going to be the number 9 edition. And we are starting next week on 1st of October. What that program involves is the 12 60-minute group coaching sessions on Zoom. The sessions will be happening on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is UK time. All sessions will be recording. So if someone can't join any of the sessions, then you can always watch the recording. Those recordings are available for 6 months after finishing the program, so you can keep going back to them. There are lots of different additional materials, and if you're actually watching it and maybe you have joined one of the previous editions of Feed Your Body, Not Your Mind, this one is going to be absolutely incredible, because the amount of extra things which I have added, including meditations, different workbooks in studying including additional resources when it comes to nutrition as well. Additional help on that is really, really incredible. And I do have actually some offer for anyone who have joined any of the previous ones and would like to just refresh the knowledge and look at everything from a completely different perspective, because the mind loves to look at different things from different perspective. I will be having some offer for those people. Also, what is happening, we have a private group on Facebook. This is the closed group where we are in constant conversations. This is where you've got access to all the recordings, all the extra sessions, and all the materials. And this time you are also getting 6 recorded Q&A sessions with mindfulness and holistic health experts. Those are the sessions which I have been recording within the last few months. We focus on gut health. We focus on psychology. We've got incredible session with the therapist. We focus on body movement, because we haven't been talking too much about the body itself and building a relationship with body, but this is a massive part of the program. And also sleep experts, cooking experts, a lot of different parts, and all of this is coming together. And when it comes to the premium option, this time I'm also offering a premium option of the program, and this is something what I have actually already had few clients getting the premium option, so I do have additional 3 spaces left for that. And the premium option includes everything what is in the main program, plus additional one-to-one sessions, 2 30-minute sessions per month, and we do them separately out of the program. So what I have for everyone who has registered for the session today, for those ladies who are here now, you can use those codes and those special promo now, and also everyone else will be getting an email from me, because this is the offer which is only valid until midnight tonight. And the promo code MIND100 is the code which gives you £100 of the program options. And when it comes to the basic program options, so the standard program options, you can pay in installments, and it's £350 per month. So we've got 3 of those. Or if you make one payment in advance, it's £1,000 in advance. So you can use the code, and then you are getting £100 off those options. Also, when it comes to the premium option is £450 per month, and that Mind100 code also works for that option. So you get £100 off the first month. And also, what I'm offering today, it's a free additional session on all options on one-to-one coaching sessions. When it comes to one-to-one coaching sessions, you've got an extended 90-minute session, and then additional 2 packs, 4 sessions of 30 minutes once, and you've got 4 sessions of 60-minute ones. And the way it works, you get extra session on all of them, including the 90 minutes one. I am actually giving you an additional 45 minutes to that. This QR code takes you to my website, feedyourbodynotyourmind.com. You can go to the offer there, and you can book the sessions for individual sessions, and also you can book the program. If you are watching the recording and this recording is in the future, and those codes are not working because they are only working today, which is the 24th of September 2024, please go to my website, because there might be some promotion going there. So for now, that's everything what I wanted to talk about. My question is, are there any questions from the audience? I'm checking the chat, and there is nothing in the chat. And ladies, if you have any questions here, I would love to hear from you. Yes, I could hear Ayan.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you for the presentation. It was really nice. And nice to speak to you again.
Yes. Great. I can't see you, but it's great to hear you. Have you got any questions regarding everything what we were talking about, just in terms of a webinar itself, not even in terms of the offer?
No, I think it was very clear. Thank you.
Amazing, and thank you for joining. It's really great pleasure to have, and I'm sure that to be continued. We will definitely
For sure.
some conversations going forward. And yeah, so for everyone else, and thank you, Mina, for everyone else who's watching the recording, if you have any questions, you can always contact me on my email, which is anna@feedyourbodyNotYourMind.com. And for everything else, what will be happening going forward, let me stop sharing. For everything what will be happening going forward, I'm definitely going to stay in touch, and hopefully you will stay in touch when it comes to my website, my social media. The only thing which I can say is that definitely you will be seeing more and more of me, because why not? This is what is happening. When we start feeding our body and when we start nourishing our body, our minds start reacting completely different as well. And the reality is that for me, this is the true definition of freedom, because if we can start being in charge of our choices, when we start being really connected to our body, and when we start listening to our body, this relationship is something what will serve us till the end of our days. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you at some point somewhere else. And thank you, Ina. Thank you so much for being here. Take care now. Bye.